What's up, football fanatics? Welcome back to the channel, the one place where you can get your Barca fix served with a side of brutal honesty. Today, we're diving deep into the Blaugrana rabbit hole because, let's be real, it's been a wild ride. I mean, seriously, are we watching the same team that used to dismantle opponents like they were playing Sunday League? Remember those 4-5, 5-0, even 7-0 thrashings? Yeah, those feel like a distant memory now, don't they? It's like we've gone from a Ferrari to a rusty old tractor overnight. What gives? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We started the season like a rocket, scoring goals for fun, playing some genuinely breathtaking football. And now, we're scraping points, struggling against teams we should be putting to the sword. It's a proper head-scratcher. So, let's get down to brass tacks. Were we massively overperforming at the start, or are we drastically underperforming now? Where the heck is our true level? Look, I'm going to be straight with you. I think it's somewhere in the middle. At the beginning of the season, it was almost too good to be true. It was like watching a perfectly scripted movie. The finishing was clinical, the midfield was orchestrating attacks like a symphony, and the defense, well, let's just say they weren't leaking goals like a sieve. We were all thinking, this is it, Barca are back. But deep down, a little voice was whispering, this can't last. And guess what? It didn't. But here's the thing. I firmly believe our true level is closer to that explosive start than the mess we've been seeing lately. There's absolutely no excuse for going on a winless streak in La Liga. No way. We should be dominating these so-called smaller teams. It's Barcelona, for crying out loud. We're not some minnow fighting for survival. We're supposed to be challenging for titles. This current form, this isn't acceptable. It's not even close to what this team is capable of. And I'm convinced we're going to see a turnaround. I think this winter break, this time for the players to recharge their batteries, was exactly what they needed. You've seen them jetting off to exotic locations, posting pictures on Instagram, living the high life, and good for them. They deserve a break after such an intense start. But now it's time to get back to business. I'm expecting an immediate improvement in January. I'm talking about renewed intensity, sharper passing, more clinical finishing. I want to see that spark back. I want to see the Barca that had us all believing again. And I think we will. I genuinely do. But, pause for dramatic effect. If we don't, then we have some serious questions to answer. Now, this brings me to a very interesting debate. A question that's been bouncing around in my head for a while now. Would you be okay with not winning La Liga if it meant winning the Champions League? Let that sink in for a second. I know. We're Barcelona. We're supposed to win everything. We're supposed to dominate domestically and conquer Europe. That's the standard. But let's be realistic for a moment. If we had to choose between one or the other right now, I'm going Champions League all the way. Absolutely. No hesitation. Look, we've won La Liga plenty of times in recent years. It's almost become expected. But the Champions League, it's been nearly a decade. A decade. That's an eternity in football terms. And the thing about the Champions League is we've got some seriously painful memories in this competition. From humiliating defeats to early exits, we've seen it all. We've even suffered the indignity of dropping down to the Europa League. It's been a nightmare, and I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely fed up with being the team that everyone expects to fail in Europe. I'm tired of being the laughing stock. I want to see Barca back where they belong, challenging for the biggest prize in club football. I want us to send a message to the rest of Europe. We're back, and we're here to stay. Winning La Liga is great, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't make the same kind of statement. It doesn't send the same shockwaves through the football world. Winning the Champions League? That's a game changer. That's what we need. That's what we deserve. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If you can't win the league, how can you possibly win the Champions League? It's a fair point. Consistency is key, especially in domestic competitions. But history has shown us that it's possible. You can win the Champions League even if you're not at your absolute best in the league. Real Madrid has done it countless times. They've been miles behind in La Liga, but somehow managed to pull off Champions League victories. Chelsea has done it too. They've had seasons where they were a complete mess domestically, but they still managed to conquer Europe. Remember Tottenham reaching the final a few years back? Tottenham. With all due respect to Spurs, they weren't exactly dominating the Premier League that season, but they had an incredible run in the Champions League. It just shows you that anything is possible. Absolutely anything. So I still believe Barca can do it. I believe we have the talent, the quality, and the potential to go all the way, but we need to believe in ourselves. We need to find that spark again. We need to be ready to perform when it matters most in those crucial knockout games. And I'm telling you, if we can do that, watch out, Europe. Now, before we move on, I want to hear from you. What do you think? Would you trade La Liga for the Champions League this season? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear your opinions. Let's get a discussion going. Okay, now that we've tackled that thorny issue, let's move on to something a little different. We've just dissected the whole Champions League versus La Liga dilemma, a real Sophie's choice for any Barca fan, right? But now, let's shift our focus to something a little peculiar. Something that's got me scratching my head more than a bad VAR decision. I'm talking about Wojciech Szczęsny. Yeah, Szczęsny. Remember him? We signed him, what, feels like a lifetime ago now. A proven top-class goalkeeper, a guy who's put the highest level for years. And yet, crickets. Not a single minute in a Barca shirt. Not one. It's like he's become the invisible man of the squad. I almost forgot he was even still here. I mean, seriously, what's going on? Did he accidentally wander into the wrong training ground? Did he get lost in the Camp Nou tunnels? Is he secretly moonlighting as a barista at a local cafe? Because he's certainly not playing football for Barcelona. But here's where things get really interesting. Here's where my jaw hit the floor. Szczęsny actually came out and made some comments about his situation, and let me tell you, they were unexpected to say the least. He said, and I quote, "I do not hide the fact that if I were the coach of this club, I would have played the same number of matches that I have played so far." Did I hear that right? What? Did I hear that right? A professional footballer, a goalkeeper who's won titles, basically saying he deserves to be benched? Is this some kind of alternate reality? Is this a glitch in the Matrix? Because you just don't see that every day. You absolutely do not. In today's football world, where egos are bigger than stadiums, where players throw tantrums if they don't get their own way, this is, well, it's baffling. It's almost refreshing. Almost. He went on to say, "It's difficult for me to be frustrated with my situation because I agree with it 100%. 100%. This guy is either the most zen footballer on the planet or he's playing some next level mind games. I can't quite figure it out. But let's analyze this for a second. What does this actually mean? What does it tell us about Szczęsny's character? Well, for starters, it shows incredible humility. It shows a level of selflessness that's rare in this sport. He's not complaining, he's not demanding to play, he's not causing any trouble in the dressing room. He's simply accepting the situation and supporting his teammate. He even said, when things weren't going well, the media tried to pressure Hansi Flick into playing me, but I was the first to come out and say that Pena deserves the recognition and that we should trust him. This is a class act, pure and simple. This is a guy who's putting the team first, who's putting his own ambitions aside for the greater good. It's admirable, really. Now, imagine being Pena right now. You're a young goalkeeper trying to establish yourself at one of the biggest clubs in the world. You're under immense pressure, and then you have a seasoned veteran, a guy who's played at the highest level, publicly backing you, saying you deserve the spot. That's got to be a massive confidence boost. It's like having a mentor, a guardian angel in the dressing room. It's priceless. But let's not get carried away here. Let's not forget that we still want to see Szczęsny play. We didn't sign him to be a glorified cheerleader. We signed him because he's a fantastic goalkeeper. And it looks like we're finally going to get our wish in the Copa del Rey match against UD Barbastro. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be a real test, not just for Szczęsny, but for the whole goalkeeping situation at Barça. What happens if he puts in a world-class performance? What if he single-handedly wins us the game with a string of incredible saves? It's going to throw a spanner in the works, isn't it? Imagine Barbastro's attack is just relentless. Imagine they're peppering the goal with shots from all angles. And imagine Szczęsny is just unbeatable, making save after save, denying them at every turn. It would be a storybook debut. It would be a moment that would have everyone talking. But what does it mean for Pena? Does it mean he loses his spot? Does it create a goalkeeping controversy? These are the questions we need to be asking. These are the questions that Hansi Flick is going to have to answer. And let's be honest, it's a good problem to have. Having two top-quality goalkeepers is a luxury for any team. But it's also a delicate situation. You need to manage it carefully. You need to keep both players happy. You need to make sure there's no tension in the dressing room. So, what do you guys think? Is Szczęsny being too humble? Is he playing it smart? Or is this just good sportsmanship? Is he secretly plotting his revenge? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious to hear your opinions. This is a weird situation, and I want to know what you all make of it. All right, so let's keep the ball rolling. We've just dissected the curious case of Wojciech Szczęsny, the most humble bench warmer in football history. Now let's shift gears and talk about something a little more concerning. Something that's got me seriously worried. I'm talking about injuries, and specifically the situation with one of our brightest young stars, Lamine Yamal. Now, we've had a couple of injury updates floating around. Ferran Torres has picked up a muscle issue, which is a bit of a setback for him. He's expected to be out for a couple of weeks, missing the Copa del Rey game and racing against time to be fit for the Super Cup. It's a shame because Ferran has been showing glimpses of his potential, but honestly, compared to what's going on with Yamal, this is small potatoes. Because the Yamal situation, it's a ticking time bomb. It's a disaster waiting to happen. And frankly, I'm furious about it. Absolutely furious. Let me break it down for you. Yamal, as you all know, is a generational talent, a 17-year-old prodigy who's already making waves in the football world. He's got the skill, the flair, the vision, everything you could want in a future superstar. But here's the problem. We're not protecting him. We're not looking after him. We're treating him like a disposable commodity. And I'm going to say it loud and clear. This is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. We've heard reports, and this is what really gets my blood boiling, that Yamal wasn't even 100% when he came back from his last ankle injury. Let that sink in. He was still experiencing pain, but he was rushed back onto the pitch because... what? Because we needed him? Because we were struggling? Oh, boo-hoo, we were struggling. So let's risk the long-term health of a 17-year-old kid. Let's potentially ruin his career because we couldn't cope without him for a few games. That's brilliant thinking, isn't it? Absolutely genius. Apparently, Yamal himself was aware of how much Barca needed him, and I'm sure he wants to play. He's a young, ambitious player who's eager to make an impact. He's a kid. He shouldn't be making these decisions. He shouldn't be putting his body on the line when he's not fully fit. That's the responsibility of the medical staff, the coaching staff, the club as a whole. They should be protecting him. They should be saying, no, Yamal, you're not playing until you're 100%. But apparently that's not happening. Think about it. He came off the bench against Las Palmas, a game where we were struggling. And even then, he wasn't his usual self. He looked off the pace. He looked like he was still in pain. And then what happened? He started every other match. He played 90 minutes against Rayo, 90 minutes against Betis, 90 minutes against Dortmund in the Champions League, and then, boom, another injury against Leganes. And even in that game, he was left on the pitch for 75 minutes, despite taking a heavy knock in the first half. Are you kidding me? This is madness. This is absolute madness. We're running him into the ground. We're risking his long-term health for short-term gains, and it's absolutely disgusting. I don't care how important he is to the team. I don't care if we're fighting for the title. I don't care if we're playing in the Champions League final. If Yamal is not 100% fit, he should not be playing. Period. End of discussion. We hear these stories about how Yamal wanted to play, how he wanted to help the team, and I'm sure that's true. He's a dedicated kid. But again, he's 17. He doesn't know any better. He needs guidance. He needs protection. And he's not getting it. This isn't just about Yamal, though. This is about the bigger picture. This is about how we treat young players in football. We're so quick to hype them up, to label them as the next Messi, the next Ronaldo, but then we're equally quick to throw them to the wolves to exploit them, to risk their health for our own selfish desires. And it has to stop. It absolutely has to stop. Now, there is some good news on the Yamal front. George Mendes has said that Yamal will soon be extending his contract at Barça at Barcelona. That's fantastic news. We're going to have this generational talent for many years to come, but that makes it even more important that we look after him. We want to enjoy him for a long time, not burn him out before he even reaches his prime. I need a bit of a breather after that. It's enough to give anyone a heart attack. But unfortunately, the drama doesn't stop there. Oh no, not at all. Because we've got some more contract conundrums to discuss. And this time we're talking about two huge names, Frenkie de Jong and Ronald Araujo. Now, these two guys are crucial to Barca's present and future. De Jong, the midfield maestro, the guy who keeps everything ticking, and Araujo, the defensive rock, the brick wall at the back. Losing either of them would be a massive blow, a catastrophic blow even. And yet, their contract situations are still up in the air, still shrouded in uncertainty. It's like we're living in a never-ending soap opera. Will they stay? Will they go? Who knows? It's a proper cliffhanger. Let's start with Frenkie de Jong. Now, we've heard all sorts of rumors about him over the past few months. He's been linked with moves to every club under the sun. From Manchester United to Bayern Munich, it seems like everyone wants a piece of Frenkie. And more recently, we even heard whispers about a potential move to, wait for it, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, seriously? Are we just sending all our unwanted players to Saudi Arabia now? Is that the new trend? It's like a retirement home for footballers. No offense to the Saudi League, but come on. Frenkie de Jong is in his prime. He should be playing at the highest level, competing for trophies in Europe, not chasing a paycheck in the desert. But here's the interesting thing. After all these rumors, after all this speculation, Frenkie de Jong's agent actually came out and made a statement. And what he said was, well, it was a bit of a surprise. He said, and I quote, "Reports about a move to Saudi, they are complete nonsense, and it distracts Frenkie from what he really wants, shining at a club that he loves the most and where he feels at home." Okay, hold on a second. This is actually the first time we've heard anything concrete from de Jong's camp. Usually they stay silent, they keep their cards close to their chest. So this is a pretty big deal. He says Frenkie wants to shine at a club that he loves the most. That's good, right? That's what we want to hear. He also says Frenkie feels at home in Barcelona. That's even better. It suggests that he's happy here, that he's settled in the city. But then his agent adds this little caveat. He says, who knows, maybe Barca and Frenkie will stay together for a longer time. Maybe? For a longer time? What does that even mean? It's not exactly a ringing endorsement, is it? It's not a declaration of undying loyalty. It's more like a maybe, a possibility, a we'll see. And that's what's so frustrating about this whole situation. There's so much uncertainty. We're getting mixed messages. We don't know what to believe. And the club isn't exactly helping matters. Apparently, they struggle to even communicate with de Jong's agent. They struggle to negotiate with him. It's a complete mess, and the clock is ticking. De Jong's contract is running down. We're now in the final 18 months of his deal, which means that in just over a year, he could walk away for free, for absolutely nothing. Can you imagine that? Losing Frenkie de Jong for free after all the money we spent on him? It would be an absolute disaster. It would be a complete and utter failure of management. And it's not just de Jong we're worried about. We've got a similar situation with Ronald Araujo, another key player, another crucial part of our team. His contract is also running down, and we're hearing similar rumblings, similar whispers, similar uncertainty. The club wants to renew their contracts. I think that's clear. I think in an ideal world, they would want to keep both de Jong and Araujo at Barca for the long term. But there are no guarantees. There are no assurances. It's all up in the air. So I'm going to ask you a direct question. Do you honestly believe that Frenkie de Jong will extend his contract at Barca? Will he stay here long term? And if not, how do you think it's going to end? Will he be sold this summer, or will he leave on a free transfer? Let me know in the comments below. I want to hear your predictions. I want to know what you think is going to happen. This uncertainty, this drama, this nervousness, it's driving me crazy. And it's not good for the club. It's not good for the players. We need to get these contract situations sorted out. We need to secure the futures of our key players. We need to bring some stability to this team. So everyone knows about Barca's financial woes. We've been talking it the whole podcast. It's no secret, but you'd really think that with all the planning and strategizing that goes into a transfer window, they'd have their ducks in a row, right? Apparently not. Apparently, Barca thought it would be a fantastic idea to sign Dani Olmo, a fantastic young Spanish talent, without actually having the financial wiggle room to register him. Let me repeat that for those in the back. Barca signed a player they can't afford to register. Genius, right? Absolute genius. This isn't some amateur Sunday league team we're talking about here. This is Barcelona, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And they managed to mess up this badly? It's mind-boggling. It's like watching a clown car crash in slow motion. The worst part? We still don't know the full story. Was this a genuine mistake? A massive oversight by the financial department? Or is there something more sinister at play? Is this all part of a larger conspiracy to sabotage Xavi's project? All right, maybe I'm getting a little carried away with the conspiracy theory angle, but seriously, the whole situation is just so bizarre. It doesn't make any sense. Now, Barca keeps saying they're working on a solution. They're talking about player sales, wage reductions, financial levers, the whole shebang. But time is running out. The registration deadline is looming. And honestly, I'm starting to doubt if they can pull it off. Imagine the PR nightmare if they can't register Olmo. If they have to go back to him and say, hey, sorry, we got a little excited. Turns out we can't actually afford you after all. It would be a disaster, a complete and utter disaster. So what do you think? Do you believe Barca will be able to register Olmo in time, or is this whole transfer saga destined for a spectacular crash and burn? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear your theories, your predictions, your wildest conspiracy theories. The floor is yours. And with that bombshell, football fanatics, it's time to wrap up this episode. What a roller coaster it's been, right? We've covered Szczęsny's zen-like approach from the bench, Yamal's looming health concerns, the contract cliffhangers with De Jong and Araujo, and of course, the epic mess that is the Dani Olmo registration saga. But hey, that's what makes football so captivating, right? It's not just the beautiful game on the pitch, it's the drama, the controversy, the off-field theatrics. And let's face it, Barca is never short of those. Before I sign off, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode, and let me know what other topics you'd like me to dive into in the future. Until next time, football fanatics, keep it classy and keep it Barca.